All right, here we go. Happy Monday. Sorry, just give me one more second here. All right, there we go. Ready to roll. Hello, Namish name. Alright, we're going to start right up front with a big old fist in your face. I think this is going to be the first real picture I've ever drawn of STRIKA. I've done, I'm pretty sure in the issue 50 of Transformers, she appeared. She was part of the council, I guess, Council of Worlds. I had to illustrate them basically from afar, and I'm pretty sure she was a part of that, although my memory's a little fuzzy. That was actually a few years ago at this point. But yeah, I've never drawn a fully intentioned STRIKA picture, as far as I know. I may have done a commission before, like a head sketch or something like that. That actually does sound kind of familiar, but I can't recall for sure. And I don't think I have it documented, so no one will ever know. Hello there, Destron Decepticon and manga collector. We are listening to more Victory today while we work. If anybody missed or hasn't heard any of the conversation around it, I usually put on Headmasters, Master Force, or Victory because I feel like the chances that it's going to get flagged for copyright content that's pretty slim. So I just put that on, and it's fun to listen to, at least for me. STRIKA is an interesting design. I was genuinely surprised how popular she was. Like, I knew she had her fans, but I didn't realize it would be that lopsided when I asked folks who they wanted to see. It was, I'm pretty sure she was 2-1 over the next closest candidate. I want to say, I think Strong Arm was closest. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to freehand this. We're going to do some freehand stuff today. I said that the last time I worked on Preceptor, and I totally went back on my word, so things could change anytime, but I'm going to start with the intention of freehanding some ellipses and other things here, and we'll see what ends up happening. So I'm giving her, I based my drawing mostly on the Transformers animated design, because that was kind of the one I liked the most. But she'll have some kind of details from other versions. So I'm making her knuckles, or what I'm calling her knuckles, kind of these bolt-looking things, because that's what they were like on her animated design. Yeah, I think that's kind of the vibe that I get. A lot of people are kind of hungry to see more of her in other media. I saw that she showed up in Cyberverse, at least an appearance. I don't know to what extent she was featured, but I know there were images of her in Cyberverse online when I looked it up. When I looked her up. I was actually, it took a while for anybody to mention Windblade, and I thought Shadow Striker, speaking of Cyberverse, would be mentioned pretty early on, but it took a while for anybody to mention her. Which actually, Shadow Striker and Flame War, if I was just kind of, if I didn't put it out there for a poll, I was thinking of those two as a potential subject, which I might still do. But we'll see. I'm trying to divvy up my time appropriately. Different projects are coming up and things are happening, so I don't know what kind of time I'm going to have to dedicate to it, but I wanted to at least stream something today. I want to try to keep up for now with the streaming schedule that I've been doing, and that may eventually change. I don't think I'm going to stop. It just, the dates and times may change, but for now it's Monday, and that's been one of my streaming days, so I wanted to keep to that. I mean, Windblade, I think I like Windblade. I was actually looking at, there's not a lot of my own work that I look at and I actually, you know, how should I put this? I guess I'm a pretty harsh critic of my own work, as a lot of artists are. So, you know, I'm always proud of what I put out there, and I put my best effort forth, but I don't always look back on them, you know, each piece with a sense of like, oh man, I did a nice job there. I'm usually kind of like looking at, I should have done this different, or that doesn't look quite right. I was looking at the Windblade #1 cover because I was doing a little cleanup in my I'll call it a studio because that sounds professional. And I was looking at that Windblade #1 cover. I'm like, man, I kind of like this. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out as like a #1 issue cover and just kind of as a piece in general. But anyway, as far as Windblade, I think she is a bit overexposed, and I don't, you know, this kind of idea of the token female is kind of a little outdated, you know. They need to get more characters represented out there. So I think it's great when I see like what little I've watched of Cyberverse with Shadow Striker and what's her name there? The female seeker there. And of course in the comics there's a ton of female characters. I absolutely love Chromia and Flame War, and you know, all the female characters that have had a focus recently. So yeah, I can see people thinking that Windblade has been overexposed, but I still like it when she shows up in things. Yeah, Nautica is a good one. I would not be surprised to see her branch out to other media besides comic books. I don't know, she's just got a really good look to her. I think she would fit in really well with other, you know, like in the War for Cybertron show, or you know, other things, video games, which I think we need to get back to some more Transformer video games, don't we? Something maybe like Devastation, but with more modern characters. Not that I'm opposed to the old G1ers, because I love those guys, but, you know, it'd be cool to see some other faces in there, too. Hello, Design OW. Am I looking forward to the Netflix show? I am, yeah. Looking forward to the show and Megatron's big lips and everything. No, I think it's going to be great. I'm excited to have a show to watch, like a modern show to watch with my son. He's starting to really get into this stuff. So it'll be fun to watch that together with him. I don't think my daughter will have much interest, but you never know. But it'd be cool to see how the show goes and enjoy it with my kids, or kid, however it shakes out. Or maybe I'll just be sitting there watching it by myself. Who knows? Yeah, I was thinking they stole the lips from Overlord. Yeah, I mean, I've still got to catch up on Prime, really. But I'll get there. Alright, so I'm continuing with my kind of freehand. Typically, I would have used the French curve for that longer line. But we're taking some risks here today. I'm going to do a lot of heavy shadow down here underneath. That's going to be all black. This is her back leg, which I'm going to fill all that in also. So she's got, I gave her this, I mostly set with the animated design. It's like a big old chunky thing on the outer part of her arm, which is gonna stay true there. So her fist is really coming forward there. And I've never actually watched her on any of the like Beast Machines or anything like that, but I get the sense that she's a pretty tough individual. So we're probably gonna scuff her up pretty good. Slipstream was the name I was trying to think of earlier. Thank you. My brain just tends to go blank once in a while. Once you have a couple kids, that seems to happen. I don't know how many of you out there are parents, but kids will change your brain, baby, in the best way, but exhaustion is real. Alright, so she's got an interesting structure to her head and face. She doesn't really have a face. She's got almost like this kind of Darth Vader-like mask coming down here. And like I said at the beginning, different versions looked a little bit different. So I mostly was inspired by animated, but took a few elements from other things, and now I wouldn't be able to remember what they were because I was just flipping through the image search. But we're going to make it a little dark under her eyes here. leading up into whatever this kind of design is going up there, which I liked. I think that looks pretty cool. So then you got this. Her face is kind of reminiscent, and I think that's because, if I'm not mistaken, they're from the same series of what IDW called Fat Tankor. It's got kind of this, just some eyes and a, I guess called a Darth Vader-like opening here, even though it's not triangular. Yeah, animated definitely was the clearest, the most clear references. Oh, okay, that's fun. I did a Fat Tankor for you. Not Tall Tankor. Alright, now some versions had like a little indentation coming forward from the front part of her face, and some of them had them going back into her like interestingly shaped back of her head there. But I decided to do them both. Just kind of adding a little bit of my own flair here and there. She's got these really interesting like bolts coming out in the front, which I think is pretty consistent for most of the designs I've seen. Manga Collector, was that from me, the Dinobot, or just in general? I don't know what goes into those decisions as far as Decepticon Octane versus Tankor. I don't know if they have a character limit on their packaging art. They wanted to keep it down to, though Octane is not that long of a name. I don't know, that's probably not it, but I'm not sure what goes into all those decisions. Did they even do that with any Decepticons? Now that I think about it, I've seen, like, you know, Autobot, Jazz, Autobot. Who else was Autobot? Was it Cup? I know we've seen it with other characters that they lost a trademark. They just add Autobot to it. Ratchet was like that for a while, right? Before the movie? I don't know, my memory's kind of wonky, but... I don't know if I've ever seen a Decepticon whoever, but I'm sure one of you all will be able to tell me if there was. They actually had it listed as Decepticon Acid Storm. That's bizarre. So I'm kind of combining a thing I've seen for the little grate right here. I liked how Animated had almost like the Sentinel mouth, where it was like that kind of this almost H-shaped thing. So I'm going to actually do the grate and put that in between the grate. Probably getting a little too tedious, but that's okay. That's what we do, baby. Tedious Transformer art all day. All right. Alright, so this part here I'm going to fill in mostly, well, the background part is going to be black, but she's got these little circuits kind of running through here. Alright, so her shoulders appear to be like some tires. So I'm going to stick with that. Kind of like that look. And again, I'm freehanding here, so normally I'd be using a template to get the curve exactly right, but I think we're good. I'm adding like some treads to the tires which wasn't featured in the other design, but I just like the look of that. I'm gonna keep it a little bit rough because I want her to look a little bit rough. So the underneath of the tire is going to be pretty much all in shadow, so I'm just kind of letting this bleed over however it's going to work best for me. I'm going to cut that a little bit higher actually. Oh yeah, I've also got the big bolt up here. Not exactly a bolt anymore, I guess. It's like a giant hubcap. Rounded piece coming out of the edge of the tire. You get the same thing underneath here. But it's a little wider on the underside. That'll all be filled in black. All right. So this tire right here, I'm just switching to the thinner pen to get the top tread, or middle, I guess, top of that side, bottom of this side. I want it to look like there's a channel there for all that Cybertronian rain. You know, add the, as if each piece of these is a raised up bit, which is exactly what it is. So just kind of adding a little dimension in there. I'll probably actually drop a hard shadow underneath there too, actually. And this tire is gonna get some heavy use, so we're gonna definitely have some character in each of these treads. And we'll go back and, you know, add more later, but I just want to throw a hint of it in for now. Evac is a character that hasn't really been used outside of Cybertron, has he? There's definitely some good characters in those series that should get more love, I think. Somebody mentioned Override earlier. What's with Shattered Glass? The popularity of Shattered Glass, like, I think it's pretty cool, but it feels like the popularity has like really taken off. Like there's a lot of people that are way into it. Let's see here. I'll go like that. Yeah, Vector Prime is another one. I actually have that figure. I love that. The whole concept and the figure I thought was great. Kind of looked like the last Autobot. I'm not 100% sure if that was intentional, but that was the vibe I got from him. That'll be all in shadow here. Yeah, I think Derek and Josh are having a lot of fun with the whole Shattered Glass thing. I like the stuff I've seen that they've done. let's go with the other foreground bit here, which is going to be her leg that's coming forward, her right, our left. I kind of like, again, took the kneecap from animated for the most part, but just kind of added my own little flair. She's got kind of the rounded bit there on her knee. So just added a little piece on the top and a little piece on the sides, just to bulk it up a little bit. So all of this here will be in black, in shadow. Kind of like the big, I don't know what you call these little things, like a hip guard. I like the look of those, so I kept those from animated. And different versions seem to have different location for these big cylindrical bits that kind of hang off the back of her. I don't actually know how many there are in total, but I put some of them visible right here. Just kind of like the look of that. I'm going to keep a little white line here between the tire and the rest of her side there. So that's going to be all dark. Right here too, this part of her arm. It's all going to be black. Advice for drawing wheels? Well, I typically would use my ellipse template. I would lean on that as much as you're comfortable with, because you know, they can pretty quickly look wonky if you don't quite do it right. So I'll actually maybe I'll use one just for this other wheel here. Draw that in now. So this is one of the templates I have. It obviously doesn't have the full ellipse, and it's clearly slightly broken, but maybe time for a new one. But I'll pencil the lines in so you can see them a little better. Typically, the way I do a tire, I don't try to make it completely accurate, because if you really look at a tire, there's a lot of different, the way the different grooves go around a tire is like, it would be really tedious to draw. So to kind of take a shortcut, what I usually do, I'll actually pencil it in here. I usually put 4 grooves along the front of a tire, or the side, or however you want to put it, the visible piece of the tire here. And I'll pencil them in on this and then erase them. I always have a center line, almost always, and then I do my pencils without the template, and usually my inks with the template, but there are cheats to do if you use digital programs also. But anyway, so I'll do like an alternating diagonal line as I go across and try to keep it consistent throughout. As it gets towards the edge, it obviously gets thinner. I've got a bit of her body there blocking that, so that's why it's kind of cutting off there. But then on the next little ridge, I'll do the opposite. Boom, boom, boom. And then the other ridge, I'll just mirror the first one. And then last over here, mirror that one. And that's pretty much how I do a tire. And then when I ink it in, sometimes I'll go thicker on the edge and allow for a little ridge there in between the little segments here. Sometimes up at the top, I'll do a little notch where it comes in, where it would come in. Sometimes not. Depends on the look of the tire, if it's actually an earth tire or some kind of like weird Cybertron tire. But essentially that's how I do it. And I've got this big thing raised up here. Typically you'd have the ellipse come all the way through there, this one here, and the hubcap is a whole different story too. You know, you can just kind of fudge it. You could model something for real, but usually I'll have a slight indent right here, and then, you know, depending on what I'm going to do, I'll just do like a quick, like, sometimes I'll do a 5 opening thing, you know, 1 and then 2, 3. You know, you can measure it out so it's more accurate than this, but you're also dealing with perspective on some level too. So, you know, something like that. Sometimes there's a smaller curve in between. I don't know. You look at real reference and find something you're comfortable with. Try not to make it too complicated, because it really doesn't matter if it's completely accurate unless you're like you know, trying to imitate a legit vehicle model or something like that. That's just kind of some general stuff there. So I'm going to get rid of most of this. Oh, no problem. Glad to help. Hi, Anna. Yeah, you were the first one to vote for her, I think. Thank you. Yeah, the thing I like about Cybertron modes is you can kind of make it up as you go. I like that about Cybertron backgrounds, Cybertron vehicles, Cybertronian, I should say. So let's go with the old template here for the ink job. Once again, this little center line, I'm kind of trying to divide my tire evenly with that. And I'm using the, what did I use? 30 degree. Or is that? Yeah, that's 30. So in reality, the way your eye would view this, it would actually, you know, if that was 30 degrees, as you go down further, it would increase, but you don't always have the tiny increments on your template. So I have 30 jumps up to 35, but I'm just going to stick with 30 probably for the larger point on this here. And it would have been helpful. And one thing you can do, if it helps you, is draw that center line so you can follow it, center line all the way through. So I can see already, like the where I drew it in, you know, in my brain it kind of made that transition, but with the template it's not quite there yet. So I'm just gonna throw these in here. Boom, boom. And one more. I'm gonna kind of leave space for those ridges there. And you can flip around your template to get the other side. If you draw to the midline they give you, then you just flip it around again, keep it on that same line, and then you get the back. Oops. I think I used the wrong one, actually. Pay no attention to that. We'll edit that out. Of course, we actually will not. But that's okay. You got to make a push to get some of your favorites in there when you can, right? There's a bar scene in, is it Optimus Prime number 8, I think? So I got to draw some random Decepticons in there. I got to choose who I wanted to put in there, so I chose Cutthroat and Blot from the Terracons. So I've always had a soft spot for the Terracons. Blot in particular, for whatever reason. I think he's pretty great. So I got to throw him in there. And Ape Face was the other one. So yeah, when you get the chance to add your own character, not your own characters, but characters of your choosing in there, you gotta take advantage. Alright, so I'll do my little ridges here, like I did with the other one, the other side. Most of that's going to fall in shadow, so I'm going to darken that out because I kind of screwed it up. That's a nice art tip. When you screw up, just put it in shadow, right? Unless it doesn't make any sense, but shadows can save you now and again. That's right. Light sources wherever the mistakes aren't. As I've said before in a lot of these things, sometimes I will usually plan things out in more detail, but with these streams a lot of the time I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, making decisions as I go along, and sometimes that'll bite you. Sometimes it's bit me a little bit, but I think it's usually come out pretty well. All right, that's all going to get darkened out there. Ever feel pressured by deadlines? Sure, that's like #1. If you're a comic artist, that's like, I don't know. I assume everybody is, but especially with Transformers, if you're trying to draw 20, it used to be 22, now it's 20. I'm trying to do 20 pages of Transformer art in roughly a month. That is hard. So, yeah, definitely pressured by deadlines. Editorial has always been very understanding with me. If that's, you know, something you were curious about, I don't feel like, other than, you know, them making it very clear when they need the art, I don't feel that kind of pressure, like somebody's breathing down my neck for it. Because anytime that I've been running behind, you know, I'll just email them as soon as I know that I'm, you know, that things are shaky, I guess is how I'll put it. They've generally been pretty good about it. I think editorial kind of builds in a little extra time for the most part, in anticipation that if something goes wrong, you know, we're not going to miss the print date for the book. So it's definitely pressure of a deadline, but it hasn't been too bad in the sense of like editorial being big, mean boss people about it, at least for my experience. I think part of it's like what you're used to, you know. If you're new to Transformers, yeah, I think that's going to be a bit of a shock to the system. But, you know, it's all about what you're used to, I guess. If I was asked tomorrow to do like a Spider-Man comic or something, it'd probably take me a bit longer just because I haven't, you know, I used to draw Spidey all the time when I was a kid, but now I'd be like, oh crap, I'm just not used to it right now, so it's going to take some time to get back into that world. Yeah, that bi-weekly thing was rough. I mean, I can only imagine what that must have been like. I know they had like a number of artists on the book in the beginning. But yeah, when I heard they were going to try that, I was like, you got to be kidding me. As it was like, you know, on Lost Light and Optimus Prime, Robots in Disguise, More Than Meets the Eye, it was regular fill-in artists all the time. So, you know, the fact that they were trying to do 2 issues a month was like, wait, what? How's that going to happen? Every time I hear Star Saber on this show, I can only think of the Lost Light, More Than Meets the Eye version. I forget that he was actually, you know, a hero. Alright, let's get back to this leg here. Any tips for somebody who wants to get into comic art? I would say study what you like. I would say check out a book called How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way. It's not just about Marvel Comics, but it's got pretty much everything you could ever need to know about constructing a comic book story in an interesting way. Obviously, well, not obviously. If you don't know the book, it was published in like, I want to say the late 60s or maybe 70s. It's by Stan Lee and I think John Buscema. But they reference art from a lot of the classic Marvel artists. And I call it like the Bible of comic art, not going from a religious angle, but just like, it's just everything you could ever need to know about drawing comics. From a classic standpoint for the tools of the trade, but the actual lessons of it are the same whether you're using digital tools, classic tools, whatever. So I recommend checking that out. There's also communities online. This was a big thing for me. Like, I always drew comic art because it's just what I liked. Growing up, I would draw X-Men, Spider-Man, Transformers, obviously. I just liked doing it. But when I finally got into this as a job, I was involved on the online forums. You know, I was on DeviantArt, I was on the IDW forums, I had an account on the TFW forums. So, you know, you kind of get involved there, put your stuff out there, get feedback, have some nice interaction with people, hopefully. So I would definitely advise checking that out. Yeah, just try things out, see what you like. Working as opposed to having it be a hobby, you know, there's obviously pluses and minuses to each, but there's definitely a great level of satisfaction to, you know, doing that as a job. You know, the first piece of work that you do that shows up in print is like, you know, just that's the moment that you live for. All the time you're struggling to get recognized and trying to you know, get the job. When it finally happens, it's just like such a great feeling. It's nice to see your work out there. Like when you're online, you're the only people seeing it are people that are looking online for it, but your work is, when you get published, your work is seen by everybody who buys that book. So it's, you kind of can't beat that if you enjoy drawing. Obviously there's personal satisfaction in it too, so, you know, it's not all one or the other, but oops. You know, the hard part about doing it as a job is you don't get to decide what you're drawing, other than like what we were talking about earlier. If you can throw in a character you like in the background of a scene, or, you know, have some influence on the writer of a character they might want to involve. But essentially, you're drawing their scripts. You're not, doing what I've been doing on these streams, which is essentially drawing what I want to draw in the way I want to draw it. So, yeah, right. Nick he can do it all. I've always thought it would be fun to write and draw my own thing. And maybe someday I will. The writing definitely doesn't come naturally to me. I'm not saying I don't have the potential for it, but it would definitely be something that I'd have to work at. I wouldn't want it to be like, the early Image books where the guys were just like, sure, I can write too, and most of them were terrible. The early Image, that is. I actually went back and read Youngblood #1 recently, and oh my god, was that awful. I mean, you kind of know it's awful, but it's really bad. I don't want to rip early Image too much. Some of it was good, and the company, the whole concept of it was great. I totally love what they do, but yeah, you can't. You don't necessarily, you're not going to be able to jump right in and write your own books unless you've got like a knack for it. You probably have to study up and take some technical courses, creative writing or whatever, to kind of figure out exactly what you're doing. At least I would. I mean, if you've got the mind for it, if you've got the story, you got the vision, that's awesome. You kind of can't beat that. I've got like characters that I always think about. I'd like to do something with these characters someday, but I don't, other than having a general idea of who they are, I don't have an overall story. I just have the characters that I've come up with my friends, some of them on my own, that someday I'd like to do something with, but need that good story. The exiled author, yeah, you've been doing some scripts. When I read the scripts, when I get them, I always think like, God, it must be a pain to have to like organize the writing in this way, like the format you have to write it in seems kind of like more unnatural. I guess it's not too different than a screenplay would be. sometimes when I'm reading a script, it's like, you know, the way it's formatted where the dialogue is separated from the description. I'll like read part of it and assume that I know what's happening, and then I have to kind of go back and revise what I was planning. Alright, then we got some missiles coming off of our back there. I'm going to throw in some, well, I'll just go back to my straight edge here for a few things. I'm kind of putting a weird curve to the missile launcher bits because I kind of like the idea of that, but I'm going to lean on the curve or the straight edge a little bit here. And something tragic happened in this show. Oh my goodness. My tip is like the worst because that's not what you want to hear, but it's practice, practice, practice. Like that's how you get better. Just repetition, practice. Obviously there's, you know, research into techniques and stuff like that, but you know, that's number one. Just the reason that some of these pen strokes can go fast is because I've done it a million times and, you know, I have an idea of how it's going to go. But, yeah, study up that How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way and study artists you like. You can find how-to tutorials online, but until you find, there's so many different styles that you can do, until you find something that you're comfortable with, you know, you can't say definitively what to do, what not to do. Just try to figure out what your comfort zone is, and not that you always want to stay in your comfort zone, but you can, you know, figure out what you enjoy. I'm going to put some of these cylindrical bits on the other side also. Yeah, that's always been my biggest tip for improvement, and I think people hate hearing it, but just repetition and practice is the best thing that I can advise. Is that what was happening, Dark Wizard? That's what all that screaming was about? Generally speaking, I would advise using your templates for stuff like this too, but I'm just kind of going on the fly here and inking these in without them. I actually penciled this. I use my quotation fingers for the word penciled. I drew it in Procreate on my iPad, just trying it out. And then I sent it, you know, mailed it over to my PC and printed it. I don't have the printer that can just do Bluetooth or whatever. So I mailed it over to my PC and printed it out on here. So it was kind of my first legitimate try at penciling something in Procreate, which was good and bad. Yeah, exiled author, that's pretty much it. Like, there's going to be parts that you don't want to do. And before I started doing this as a job, and you don't have a choice, you know, when it came to like the cool picture of Spider-Man that I was drawing on my own, you know, I'd ink in a few buildings or whatever, and then I'm done. Like, I'm not drawing the whole city. I don't want to. I'm just avoiding it, but you're not going to get good at that stuff until you do it. So, yeah, kind of forcing yourself to do the things you don't want to do is part of it. Yeah, Anna, that was something I was thinking too. Like, I kind of can't wait till I can do my first, like, just full cover, full page, entirely in Procreate. Like, that'll be pretty cool. All right, what do we got here? 2:37. So we got a little time. Let's fill in some of these dark spots here. Get rid of my pencil lines that I put in over there. I think I am going to put in a pretty hard shadow behind her too, in the spirit of shadow covering up some mistakes. You find combiners easiest to draw? Wow. Oh, because they're not symmetrical. I see. As far as the DVD that's playing in the background, I think it's disc 2. It's either 2 or 3 on the full full series set. So whatever that means to you. I've never actually watched it, so I just have it on for the sound. I'm only, as far as actually watching them, I'm on the second disc of Headmasters. I've been trying to watch an episode a day of Headmasters for the last couple weeks. So I haven't actually sat down to watch Victory or Master Force. So I'm going to try to watch them in order and experience them how they were meant to be experienced. Which I know a lot of people, well, some of you, it sounds like, have already watched all of it, or at least have some knowledge of it. Victory Leo. I'm going to do a little adjusting over here. But I'll deal with that later. I'm going to just kind of have her standing in front of a wall with some like bullet holes in it or whatever. So we probably won't get that far in the next 20 minutes, but that's where it's headed. How am I liking Headmasters? I actually, you know, there's some weird parts to it, but overall I'm really enjoying it. It's so much fun to see, like, the characters that I remember in an animated series that I've never really seen. There's a decent presence so far of, like, you know, Generation 1 American Autobots and Decepticons, all the Scramble City teams, like, they're in it a ton. Aerial Bots, Stunticons, all those guys. So I'm kind of enjoying that. I'm also enjoying, I've always had a weird fascination with the train bots, even though other than just knowing that they existed, I never really had any exposure to them. But I really like seeing them in the series. And one of the few toy splurges that I'm planning on doing is if they really do end up releasing a Takara train bots set, I think I'm going to have to put down the money for that. The dub is horrible. I've been listening to the Japanese sound because I like it. I like a lot of the voices they have, and I want to hear it how it was presented, you know? I don't mind reading subtitles. I'm kind of an old person right now, so I have subtitles on for a lot of the stuff that I watch just because, you know, sometimes if I'm watching something that's not meant for kids, I live in a small house and I don't want my kids to hear it, so I keep the volume relatively low, throw on the subtitles, so if I don't hear something quite right, I can just read what they're saying. But yeah, I think, other than, you know, obviously there's parts that are extremely silly, like just like the Generation 1 cartoon was, I think it's been really fun. One thing I have to say for Procreate that I've found, my version of Photoshop is an old CS2. I don't have the Creative Cloud, so I find the Apple Pencil and Procreate so much more responsive, so much better than drawing on my Cintiq with my CS2. It's like a more natural feeling pen stroke, which is nice, because that's one of the big obstacles with doing anything digital. I actually was working on that 6 fan arts thing that I started like over a month ago, whenever those were happening, and I've been kind of like just ignoring it, and I was like, I'm just gonna do this digitally, and it's been kind of a pain. Just the digital piece of it, and I'm kind of in too deep now to print it out and start over. And I know I could like hodgepodge it together, print some, do some digitally, do some in Procreate, but I don't know, I just want to do one piece and kind of be done with it. So I've been doing that on my PC using my old version of Photoshop, and it's been kind of a slog, and the you know, the touch of the pen has not been user friendly for me. The thing that's helpful to me about drawing in Photoshop is doing the roughs and the pencils, because I don't need that neat finished line. Like, this is a little bit on the rough side for me, what I'm doing right here, but generally speaking, I have like a really neat, clean line on things, and that control just is not there in Photoshop for me. So, but when I'm doing just like pencils and roughs, that's fine. If I don't need it to be, if each line doesn't need to be precise, I just need to get it sort of in the right place. And if there's a little wobble to it or inconsistency in the line weight, that's fine, because when I ink it by hand, it's going to look nice and tight. But I do plan to mess around a bit more with Procreate, because despite the fact that I really like to have that original piece at the end, because a lot of people are interested in obtaining those original pieces, it's always been something that I thought would be really cool. Even before this technology really existed, I was like, wouldn't it be neat if there was like a little device you could just kind of bring with you wherever you went and just draw on it? And here we are. It's a real thing. I sound so old right now, and I realize that. Probably because I am, but I'm literally old, and a little bit old in spirit too. Just because we're nearing the end of the stream time, I'm going to go ahead and add some of this detail to the wall back here. I'll probably finish her offline either later today or tomorrow morning, but I figured it'd be fun to just kind of draw in some of this. Like, I'm assuming there's a wall behind her. That's kind of what my plan is, and I'm just, when I kind of do laser or bullet hole, not really holes, but dents in walls. I just kind of start with a kind of roundish, start with a dot and then just kind of build around that and kind of do some cracked, jagged lines coming out from it. Not totally evenly spacing them because it shouldn't look too neat, but you got to imagine that it's left a bit of a dent in the wall. And, you know, it's somewhat rounded, but not perfectly round. And then I'd go in with a heavier pen and hit some darker shadows in spots where, you know, the wall might be more dented. Just kind of like nothing too, don't commit too hard to any particular line, just something like that. I'll put another one over here. And I'll just start one I kind of marked down here for where another one should go. Yeah, I'm actually waiting for, you know, well, not literally waiting for a script, but the next script I get, I do look forward to sitting down with the iPad and messing with that. It just seems like it'd be such a nice, easy way to do it. I think I got that all off camera, didn't I? Maybe not. All right. I'm just kind of jumping around a little bit to think about what's fun to try to get on the stream as opposed to just doing on my own. So for these like missile doodads, I can't remember what color they are, but something's darker in color. I usually like to add a hard shadow to it. So I'll leave a little line where the separation is. So get a hard shadow. This is a rounded cylindrical surface. So hard shadow on the bottom. Leave a little space there. And then let's take my number one and just kind of add some quick thin lines to the side of that. Kind of creates a little gradient effect. And I'll put one by the top. And I'm gonna imagine there's a shadow coming down from that. I think I'm gonna carry my my hard shadow underneath this. If I can find the right pen, I'll just use this one. Just all the way to the edge here. I'll leave the thin line between the segments here again. And I would typically go around the edge of this because I want this to stand out from the background. I'll hit a thicker line around here to make that stand out. Something like that. Zombie Prowl, sure. I'll upload the jazz images. I guess I only did the photos, didn't I? I can, yeah, upload the whole thing. The scan. I didn't actually scan them now that I think about it. Yeah, I'll add them to Twitter at some point. How do I decide which line should be thicker? Well, it's pretty much to separate. For me, my advice would be to separate objects. Like right now, I actually did outline the fist in a thicker line, but it's almost kind of jumbled in. Like if you just looked at this part of the picture, there's not a lot separating the thickness of these lines. So when I went back in, this fist is really supposed to be coming forward, coming at you. So I would typically, you know, see how it's all shaking out. But after I'm done, I thicken up this line, and that really separates it from the rest of the lines near it. And that's a little separate shadow there, but see, that really separates this from what's going on behind it. So largely, yeah, it's just to create a sense of separation. The same with the character in the background. Like in the background, any lines I'm going to put on this wall will be with the number 1 or thinner, because I want them to be separated from the main robot, and that's why the outline here is a little thicker. You don't always need a super thick outline for the robot. In fact, it can be overdone. I shouldn't say for the robot, I should say for anything you're drawing. It can be overdone, and that, to me, that can kind of ruin it. I've seen some artists do like a super thick outline around the character in the foreground, and it just kind of makes it look more unrealistic. But I think getting a little bit of separation there is a good thing. When is the next stream? Sometime Wednesday. I'm still trying to keep up with a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, and I've been sticking with this 1 to 3 time frame, but I might switch it up a little bit. But for now, this seems to work okay. I think I've had my biggest crowd for this time frame, but I think the later one did pretty well too. I did one that was like 8 o'clock at night. That kind of eliminates some of the European and Asian crowd, but the American crowd is kind of like either out of work if you work a 9 to 5 or home during that time. So I think that worked out for the American crowd. So I might want to try that time frame again, but I usually announce it on Twitter when I'm gonna do it. So that's probably what I will do. Design OW, I'm sorry if I asked you before, but where are you located? Finland, okay, very nice. Wow, is that late in Finland? That's crazy. I didn't think it was that much of a difference. Let's see, am I going to auction those? The Jazzes, I will. Yes, I'm going to auction those. I'll probably put at least one of them up tonight. I'm trying to do 2 auctions per week. I have 2 auctions ending tonight. And I will put up 2 more tonight. Probably the Perceptor and one of the Jazzes. And then the following week I'll do 2 more and kind of try to keep up with that for as long as I'm doing this. But yeah, anyway, I think I'm gonna call this for now. I think she's looking pretty intimidating, appropriately, hopefully. And yeah, I'll finish her up and post her lines on Twitter and Instagram. Anybody who wants to color them can feel free. And yeah, this was fun. I'm not sure what I'll be doing on Wednesday's stream, but it'll be something fun. Somebody was asking on YouTube about doing tutorials, so I might, and we've talked a little bit about it here, I might do some sort of tutorial, maybe kind of a basic how to draw Optimus Prime or Soundwave or some widely known and popular character, and make something that's more accessible to anybody who wants to try it. But I will let you all know on social media what I decide, and I'll be back at some point on Wednesday. So yeah, thanks again for joining me. This was fun. The conversation was fun. I think I missed a little bit of it, but yeah, thanks for being a part of it. I really appreciate you guys. Hope everybody has a great rest of their day and or night. And I'll catch you next time. Stay safe and be good. All right, bye-bye, everybody.